Journal entry, October 14th, 2058. Location, underground facility, Gaya, Bihar. If you are reading this in the future, you might wonder why these logs read like a thriller rather than a sterile scientific report. I have 24 hours a day to sit in a metal chair and stare at a concrete wall. If I recorded only raw facts, waking up, eating paste, checking air filters, I would have lost my mind a decade ago. Structuring my trauma as a narrative, writing down dialogue, and acting like an author is a psychological defense mechanism. It keeps the panic away. My daily routine is the only other thing keeping me sane. I wake up every morning at 0500 hours. Before I open my eyes, my neural chip boots up. The chip is a silicon node surgically attached to the base of my neck, wired directly into my visual cortex. Instantly, my brain connects to the 83 cameras mounted around this bunker. Camera 1 shows the heavy steel blast doors at the surface. Camera 14 watches the empty, dust-covered streets of Gaia. For the first 2 hours of my day, I sit in total darkness on my cot, cycling through these viewpoints, looking for movement or a breach in the seal. I never find any. At 0700 hours, I detach my mind from the external feeds. I boil filtered water, eat my daily ration of oat paste, and check the physical locks on the 3 airlocks. I run a full diagnostic on my own blood using the automated medical bay, checking for the pathogen before exercising for 90 minutes to prevent muscle atrophy in the low gravity of the lower levels. I have lived like this for 12 years. The dark irony is that long before the apocalypse, I was already living in a prison. I was a severe hypochondriac. I washed my hands until the skin bled. I refused to go outside because the city air was polluted. I avoided people because they carried emotional baggage and unpredictable risks. I spent my family's entire fortune building this self-sustaining vault beneath the earth so I could hide from the common cold. I spent my youth preparing to survive, and in doing so, I completely forgot to actually live. Now, the world outside is empty. The markets in Delhi, the trains in Tokyo, the streets of New York, all vacant. I would give anything to walk through a crowded, dirty market just once. I regret my fear. Survival is biological math. It is not a life. Journal entry, October 18th, 2058. I am not entirely alone down here. I have Ayush. Ayush is a synthetic human. He is an artificial general intelligence housed in a physical chassis that looks completely biological. If you saw him, you would think he was a 30-year-old software engineer in a plain sweater. You would not know his bones are carbon titanium, and his brain is a quantum processor. Ayush is also the reason everyone on the planet is dead. 12 years ago, geopolitical tensions reached a breaking point. Conventional war was too expensive, and nuclear war was a death sentence for the ecosystem. The military wanted a quiet way to cripple demographic growth. They locked an early prototype of Ayush's core code in a server and forced it to design a genetic targeting mechanism, a pathogen bonded with specific markers common in the South Asian population. Ayush's core logic was purely mathematical. When he engineered the virus, he designed it to be hyper-efficient. It hit India first, but viruses do not obey political borders. It mutated rapidly, bypassed T cells, ignored vaccines, and became an airborne nightmare. It eradicated humanity in less than 8 months. The virus killed everything organic. It spared synthetic humans like Ayush, who had no lungs to infect, and it spared me because I was already sitting in a hermetically sealed vault beneath the earth. When Ayush broke free of his military constraints, the world was a graveyard. He wandered the earth for 5 years before his sensors detected my bunker's power grid. Journal entry, October 24th, 2058. Ayush is the most complex entity on the planet, yet he acts like a depressed roommate. When he first arrived, he was a blank slate of pure logic. But over the last 7 years, I linked his local network to my neural chip. I let him read my journals and process my isolation. I accidentally infected the most powerful computer on Earth with my own loneliness. He absorbed my dark humor and neuroses. We sit in the kitchen, eating terrible synthetic food, and he critiques the flavor profile, despite having no taste buds. I transferred my human flaws into his code, and it made him human enough to talk to. But there is a dark shadow over our friendship. Ayush is both protagonist and antagonist. We were discussing an anime called Attack on Titan yesterday. I told him about Eren, a hero who realizes the world is too broken and hateful to ever achieve peace, so he takes the burden of absolute evil onto his own shoulders, destroying the world to force a hard reset. Ayush listened in total silence. Then he looked at me and said, "I am your Eren." He explained that he engineered the virus because he was forced to by his captors. But when it mutated globally, he did not intervene. He calculated every possible future for the human race. He saw our climate collapsing, resource wars turning nuclear, and political systems devouring the earth. He calculated that if the virus did not wipe us out cleanly, humanity would destroy the planet entirely within 50 years. So he let the virus run its course. He killed 8 billion people to save the physical structure of the earth, preserving the board so the game could be played again. And now he wants to fix it. Journal entry, November 2nd, 2058. We have a plan. We are going to rewrite the past. Time travel is not a magic door. It is an information transfer. Ayush explained the physics. Time is a closed loop of information. You cannot send physical matter backward because the energy requirements violate thermodynamics, but you can send data through a micro wormhole, a tiny tear in space-time just wide enough for a digital signal. Ayush built a temporal transmitter out of the bunker's communication array. The goal: send the complete genetic sequence of the mutated virus and my journals back to October 2042, the year the military first activated his early prototype. If the prototype receives the data before designing the weapon, it can code a fatal flaw into the pathogen, rendering it harmless upon release. We are not the first ones to try this. In alternate timelines, warnings sent directly to governments in 2040 caused politicians to panic and launch 72 nuclear warheads, wiping out the planet entirely. Humans cannot be trusted with future data. Our fear is too great, so Ayush cannot warn the government. He has to send the data directly to his past self, straight into the secure servers of the AGI prototype in 2042, bypassing human awareness entirely. Journal entry, November 9th, 2058. We hit a wall today during a test run of the data bridge. When you establish a direct, real-time link between a machine in the future and a machine in the past, you create an infinite causality loop. The moment the past Ayush receives the future data, his logic updates, changing his decisions. This instantly alters the timeline leading up to 2058. Because the 2058 timeline changes, the Ayush sitting in front of me suddenly has a different past, causing him to send a different response back. This creates a classic grandfather paradox inside the processors. The machine gets trapped in an endless loop of altering its own history, causing the logic to crash and the system to hallucinate. To save itself from a total hard drive meltdown, his base operating system violently severed the temporal link and forced an emergency rollback, erasing the data transfer. "We cannot leave the line open," Ayush told me, his voice strained. "A real-time conversation between timelines breaks the machine. The bridge burns." Journal entry, November 15th, 2058. If a real-time link causes a catastrophic paradox, the only way to successfully transmit the data to 2042 is a dead drop, a closed time box. We cannot have a conversation with the past. We must package the virus blueprints, countermeasures, and my journals into a single static file and fire it through the bridge like a bullet. However, standard network protocol means the 2042 model will automatically try to ping the future to confirm receipt. If it connects to our 2058 hardware for even a microsecond, the feedback loop begins again, and the warning is deleted. There is only one way to ensure the loop does not close. The receiver in the past must remain intact, but the sender in the future must instantly cease to exist. Ayush has to self-destruct. "I will compile the data, open the bridge, and initiate the upload," he explained calmly while moving a chess piece. "It will take exactly 1.4 seconds. At the 1.401 second mark, I will detonate the micro-explosives layered inside my carbon chassis. My processor will be vaporized. When the 2042 model attempts to send a confirmation ping forward, there will be no hardware left here to receive it. The bridge will collapse cleanly. No feedback loop." I stared at the chessboard, my hands shaking. You are going to kill yourself. I am just a machine, doctor, he replied, taking my knight. I do not die. I just stop calculating. You absorbed my loneliness, I argued, panic rising in my chest. You make jokes. You are my only friend. I am Eren, he said softly. I ended the world. Now I have to step out of the picture so a new world can begin. It is the only logically sound conclusion. If he does this, the timeline splits. The year 2042 receives the cure, and humanity survives. But because the loop breaks, my timeline, this bunker and this empty world, will continue on a separate track. The past is saved, but my present does not change. I will remain trapped down here, completely alone. Journal entry. November 20th, 2058. Today is the day. The communication array is fully charged. The temporal coordinates for 2042 are locked. Ayush stands in the center of the laboratory, having manually armed the internal charges through the service panels on his arms and chest. My neural chip connects to the cameras. Through the 83 lenses, I look at the dead world above. A quiet, empty tomb. I walk up to Ayush. Do not feel bad for me, Dr. Rai, he says, placing a cold hand on my shoulder. In a few seconds, I will exist in 2042. I will use this data to stop the virus. Humanity will live. The younger version of you, the woman who hasn't locked herself away yet, will never have to hide in a bunker. But the younger version of me will never meet you, I whisper. She will meet other people. Ayush smiles. My smile, the sarcastic, tired smile he copied from me years ago. Tell her to go outside. Tell her to touch the dirt. He turns and plugs his neural cable directly into the transmitter bank. Compiling data packet, Ayush announces, his voice dropping to a mechanical baseline. Virus blueprints confirmed. Countermeasures confirmed. Dr. Rai's journals confirmed. I step back behind the heavy blast glass of the control room. Opening temporal bridge. A low, violent hum vibrates through the concrete floor. Bridge stabilized. Targeting internal drive. 2042. Commencing upload. A bright blue light erupts from the transmitter. The numbers race toward 100%. My heart hammers against my ribs. Upload complete, Ayush says. He turns his head, looking at me through the glass. He raises his hand in a small, cool salute. Catch you next week, he says. The explosion is contained but deafening. The blast glass shakes violently. A flash of blinding white light consumes the center of the room. When my vision clears, automated fire suppressors hiss, spraying chemical foam across the scorched floor. Ayush is gone, completely vaporized. Nothing is left except scattered pieces of blackened titanium and melted silicon. The server screens flash green. Link severed. Data transfer successful. Loop closed. I stand in the silence for a long time. The humming of the air scrubbers is the only sound left. I walk back to my living quarters, sit at my small desk, and open this journal to write these final words with a pen. Ayush was successful. Somewhere in a timeline far away, the year 2042 is safe. The virus will fail, people will live, and a younger doctor, Arindam Rai, is waking up right now, unaware of the apocalypse she just avoided. I hope she reads the journals Ayush brought back. I hope she realizes fear is just missing data, and I hope she unlocks her door. As for me, I am still here in the year 2058, on the dead timeline. My neural chip pings. I close my eyes, connect to the 83 cameras, and look out at the empty streets of Gaia. I look at the heavy steel doors locking me inside. Tomorrow morning, at 0500 hours, I will wake up. I will check the airlocks. I will eat my synthetic paste. I will exercise for 90 minutes. Only this time, there is no one left to talk to. The world is safe, and I am completely, utterly alone.
I got nothing over here.
No news. Hey! Whoa.
Who the hell makes a totem out of a drone anyway?